You mentioned, Don, a couple of seconds ago about how Black Monday deals with, how things haven't changed, right? We're not much more enlightened now, as we are all talking about right now, than we were, in the 80s or in 1860. But
yeah,
there was a clip that's I think on the verge of going viral if it hasn't already. It was really making the rounds of a scene that you did with Rue McClanahan on the Golden Palace, which was of course the Golden Girls spinoff that you were on back in the early 90s. And there was this really interesting exchange between your character Roland and Blanche, played by Rue McClanahan, about the Confederate flag. And it's going around because at that time in the early 90s, that conversation was not being had in any kind of widespread way, certainly not on a network sitcom. And I just wondered if you could go back and talk about what it was like to be having that conversation at that time.
Well, to the writers' credit, and these are writers that all went on to do, big things in the space, like Kim Ballaway and, Mitchell Horowitz and Mark Cherry. Everybody went on to continue to do what they were doing. And that was the breeding ground for them, Golden Girls and Golden Palace. So they've always wanted to stick their nose in stuff and, dip their toe into areas that were uncomfortable and tricky for people to deal with. And I think, once they cast me in that role, they saw it as Tony Todd. Everybody, they saw it as an opportunity to really talk about this stuff and bring some of these things to the fore. And I was glad that they, allowed me to. It wasn't just force fed to me. They're like, tell me what the conversation is. How should we talk about this? What are the ways that we should bring this up? And yeah, it's really interesting because it did kind of take off. Somebody just tweeted something to me and said, kind of like, "Did you know you did this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I was there. I was there at the time." It's really interesting that, like we said, these things are cyclical. They don't necessarily ever go away. This isn't a conversation that we weren't having. Maybe it hadn't reached, as you say, the level of being a network sitcom and a national conversation like that as we see it now. Also, there was no social media at that time. So things proliferate at a rate that's much more advanced than it would have been at that time. Even if it's something that everyone saw at Thursday night at 8:00, it's not like there were many forums to continue that conversation. So now that it's out there in that way, it's just sort of catches fire, like you say, goes viral, and everybody talks about it. But it's not a new conversation, and it's not something that a lot of communities haven't been talking about forever. Black people have never had a comfortable relationship with that flag, and people that live in those states where that's the state flag have never had a comfortable relationship with that flag. So it was something that, like I said, was there. But yeah, to have it find its way into a sitcom and to have us have that kind of discussion, I think was really great to do. And it was as it is now. Even then, I think the response was really, people were really glad that it was out there.